Hello everyone, it's Mrs. Rouse here talking about finishing up your project. So I'm going to talk about how to work through the steps. There's lots of logical sequencing in finishing this project, and I'm going to show you the samples again by other students at the end and kind of talk about why some are better than others. You have a lot of time to finish the project after this step, and I'm really going to encourage you to go kind of slow and methodically and really do a nice job. Anytime you want, you can stay on the end of a Zoom during the mini reports. Show me how you're doing on your drawing. Just hold it up and I can talk about, this could be better or that, or email it to me or something before you turn it in the last time. The first thing I want to talk about supplies. You've already made your collage. You've made a photocopy of your collage, and using the graphite paper, you transferred it down on this piece of 12 by 18 paper. Today, you're going to be using all of your pencils. I just don't have the 4H out because I don't have the patience. If you have the patience for the 4H, that's amazing, and go for it. Totally. Pencil sharpener. You're going to probably need an eraser. I would make sure it's nice and clean because you don't want to add anything frustrating to your drawing. Sometimes, here's an example. Sometimes you have an eraser and for some reason it has a color on it from some other project. Just don't use these, because sometimes you'll get that blue on your paper and then you'll be like, yeah, don't do it. Anyway, and then a pencil sharpener, either the electric kind that's nearby or the hand one that I gave you. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is sequencing your way through the drawing. There's so many ways to advise you on this. I just want to say the longer you can stand working with your lighter pencils, with like the 2H pencil, the finer, the nicer your drawing's going to be. So hold off on your ebony pencil for sure until you need it really near the end of the project. And because the end is so soft, you're going to keep it sharp when you are using it near the end of the project. Your 6B, even your 4B, the same way. Hold off as long as you can stand it on those particular pencils. Also, I've been showing you this drawing in my classes. I notice it's got some smudges on it here. If you don't keep erasing these smudges, you're going to get kind of ground into the paper, and then you won't be able to erase them later. So I've noticed if you see these smudges on the sides of your paper and the sides of your drawing, or in places they're not supposed to be, get rid of them because they're just going to cause you problems and make you frustrated at your project. Even within areas they don't belong. This one's already hard to get off. That smudge is not going to come off right there. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to work on our lights and darks first. That's kind of the whole purpose of this drawing, is to really force your lights and your darks. And then we're going to remember to add shading later. So there's a sequence through the drawing. We work generally first. We work on lights and darks first, and we finish up with things like accent line. We work just kind of simple at first, and I would try and go through your whole drawing, then go back and add detailing, add stippling at the end. If you think of it, you have this beautiful spongy thing called a piece of paper, and the more your graphite just sits there looking pretty and clean right on top, the better the drawings will look. When it all gets kind of smashed down and smooshed together and kind of not as sort of clean looking, you can't ever bring that back. So just kind of keep it nice and don't force the drawing too much. The other thing that you can use is your blending stick. If you can pull off this project without the blending stick, that's even better. So the first thing you're going to do is decide where to work. It really doesn't matter where you start. Start with your 2H or your 4H. I was thinking of working up here in this little area right here to show you a couple things. So looking at the drawing, another thing you can do is take any piece of paper, put it on top of your drawing, and that keeps you from smearing the rest of the drawing. This is called using a paper shield. As long as your other piece of paper is clean, it keeps you from smearing it. So what I'm going to do is just start in this area right here. It's kind of simple and it's very light, but it's not all the way white. So I'm going to just gently, right now I'm using the side of my pen. I don't want to smudge it. I have a couple places in my drawing where I might add some smudging later. So I'm looking at this area right here. Very, very light. Trying not to add too many lines, but that, of course, I'm doing that anyway. Slowly filling that in. I'm keeping my lines going the same direction though, so if they do show, it'll look nicer than kind of lines that go every which way. Also, what's nice about these photocopies is they kind of have a grainy look to them, just like the paper does. So it comes out looking quite similar to the photograph. So I'm just filling in this kind of value area in here, and then for some reason it's a little dark. This one's a little darker right here. Okay. The reason I chose this particular area, I'm trying to get it nice and flat and smooth, so I'm going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. The reason I chose this area is because I have some weird textures here. And so now I'm going to, you can see there's another area, it's a little bit of a darker shadow, so I can press a little harder. As I put in this area of shadow, it has a couple details to it. You're going to be able to get pretty close to what you're drawing. See the shadows right here? I'm trying to keep my lines going the same way. I kind of like the way it's angled in the photograph, so I'm going to change the direction of the lines. So I'm just working on a shadow that kind of goes right on top of what I'm drawing. So this is a shadow area here too. So the shadows are fairly flat and even. So I'm trying to make this fairly flat and even. I haven't really demoed like this on this particular project before, so who knows what I'm going to create. But I wanted to show you what in the world do I do for this type of a thing. First of all, the lightest it gets is still not white. So I need in here, I need to start with some kind of value. I don't really want this to look even because it's kind of a plant in here. So I'm going to, this is going to look different than the shadow areas, kind of adding a light value, and then I'm going to, instead of drawing it, I think I'm going to draw some of these funny little shadows it's making. So instead of drawing the leaves themselves, I'm going to kind of draw the areas between the leaves. So here's my little tree, and I'm scumbling in kind of the look of the shadows to me. So I'm working in this area right here in my drawing. So what do the shadows look like? If I want to, for instance, keep this line here really super straight, I can get my eraser shield. Where's my eraser shield? And I can just hold it up next to what I'm drawing and use it to help me keep that area just nice and straight. So when I do my scumbles, see it has a really straight line here, I can scumble kind of right up next to this. And right now I'm not even totally following the exact look of the scumbles. I'm just scribbling in an area. And remember, when you have a scumble type area, that you change what it looks like depending on what you're drawing and so on. If I wanted to finish this area, it gets a little bit darker than what I can get with my 2H. I would probably go back at some point with a slightly darker pencil and get a few more areas that are even a little bit darker. And along here, along the bottom, there's kind of a little bit of a row though. So I would scumble something like this for this particular area. And then here you see some more on the other side over here. I would have to do the same thing. I put in a light value first. And then I started scumbling it in. So you're just going to go very slowly through your drawing. What do I need to do? See how that line came out a lot cleaner when I started using this. And if I want it even straighter, I can even just kind of straighten it out even more. So you're going to look at each particular area of your drawing. You're going to look, you know, what do I need? I want this shadow to be really flat. So right now I'm kind of a little bit doing a crosshatch. I'm trying to keep my pencil doing the same thing so it comes out looking about the same. And then over in this area here, I wanted to say, so I have a spotted texture if you look really close, but it's also kind of let's say on a scale of 1 to 10, around a 2.5 as far as light and dark goes. It's pretty light, but not all the way light. So I would do something here to get this light area going. And then, let's just say I did it to the whole thing. It's going to take a while. And then I probably, once that was going, do a better job. I like using the side of my, it's kind of how light a touch you can have with your tonal. Remember, it's better if you can avoid smudging. Let's say I would work kind of like this, slowly filling it in and so on. And then I'm probably going to have some stippling, maybe occasionally a little bit of this and that. But that I can't get to this without stippling. It also has some kind of white spots in it. So I might, you know, kind of erase a little bit here and there as I do that, and then add some more. So it might be all those things. Or maybe I think the stipple does need to be smudged and erased. And so I'm just working back and forth so I can come up with a texture that looks kind of like this graininess right here. So I could just keep working that, keep working on that, keep working on that. Another part of my drawing over here, see, it's really smooth and silky. So and maybe I would use some smudge here, but I don't want it to be ridiculously smudged. I want it to be kind of clean as much as possible. So maybe certain parts of it that are super soft, I might smudge, but then I'll hand draw some of these darker shadows on the top. So this is how you go about this drawing. You just carefully start looking at each area, how light, how dark it is. It's nice. I went ahead and finished that because I wanted to show you a scumble area. Remember, if you have no idea how to draw some type of texture, it's probably going to be a scumble. And this is too, I'm kind of going back with all kinds of different things to try and get that right. And then you're going to go back and at the very end of your drawing, that's when you add these really delicate, these aren't really accent lines, these aren't very pretty, but later on I would add these types of lines that go like this right on top of my drawing. They're interesting and pretty and so on top of what's already there. So if there was a line, there's a little bit of a line down here, so maybe at some point I could make it interesting. See, I'm kind of showing what's going on with this line right here. So anyway, that's how you work on your drawing, slowly building it up. I wanted to remind you sequentially, as much as you can, adding the values first, and then you finish up with fine details, and then you work up to your really, really dark pencils. If I was to start early in my drawing, I'll make a mistake on purpose, with my ebony pencil, what's going to happen, let's say, here's that shadow, on the other side of that shadow there's a big dark area right here. If I were to draw this too early on, then it has a tendency, and yeah, it looks really amazing and nice and dark. By the way, even when you're using your ebony, try and draw your lines kind of the same way, like you see how I'm going in the same direction, because it looks, it'll make a difference if you kind of go every which way. It won't look as neat as if you tried to draw the lines in the same direction. But let's say I put that in early in my drawing, and let's say it is actually really neat or whatever. Just going back and forth and leaning on it and this and that, it starts getting smudged around. You can see how easily that smudges. So I would say wait on those. They will make a difference. They will really make your drawing pop out when they're put in. But just be careful. You can see how the ebony in particular needs to be sharpened every so often to get these really nice edges. So wait on these fine dark details till later on in the drawing. So look at the lesson I wrote out for you, using your H pencils, your 2H and 4S, as long as you can stand it, and then switch and slowly start getting darker. I would work over most of it before I got out of those dark things. I just wanted to show you when you do add the darks, it does make it kind of help it kind of pop out. And then, the more sensitive stuff first, anything that's like a special lines and stuff, you wait till the end of the drawing. You can use your blender, but try not to just do it everywhere. So I want to talk to you about some of the sample drawings. First of all, I wanted you to see this one again. And initially it looks really, really nice, but I'll make it even larger. You can see it's almost all the same thing. They just kind of filled in some areas. A little bit of smudge here to get a color here, but it's just some lines. It's almost all done with like a 4B or the ebony, maybe 4B here and ebony's there. And it's great. That's what's great about this assignment. It ends up looking nice. But the quality of the drawing, look, there's really not that much detail here on the flowers and stuff. The quality of the drawing could be stronger. This one's nicer because you can see the shading they've started doing, the lights and darks. I can tell they were maybe not really looking at the photograph because there would have been more highlights, creases in the pants and so on. So they kind of took some shortcuts, but you see this nice range of values. This is definitely what I'm looking for, more than that, where they just added darks where darks are, so once the lights and darks and so on. But I'm going to show you how some of these drawings just get nicer and nicer. Look at this beautiful shading down here. I would say there's some smudging, but they went over the top of it with probably a 2B or something and kind of redrew into it. So the quality of the drawing looks really nice. This wouldn't have happened here, these nice lines, without a nice sharp pencil. So sharpening the pencil from time to time, doing some line work, a little bit of smudging, and then carefully. I don't think this drawing was actually ever finished, but you can see how it's really starting really pretty. This drawing I've already showed you. Has a great kind of design to it. Move this a little bit over. And you see some nice values here. The composition's amazing. The actual drawing quality, once we really take a look at it, is a little bit stylized. They maybe could have looked at the photograph more. These are kind of scumbled in, and it initially looks really nice. Lots of different values here and there, so on. So they've done a nice job. But you can see, like, this person spent a lot of time with this shading with a 2H pencil in here and in here, where you're seeing it look dimensional. See how nice this hair is right here? So that's one value, and over that value, scumbling with a darker pencil. So figuring out how can I layer my techniques together. You don't have to use all the techniques. Use the ones you need. But trying to really work up this sensitive shading. So quality, this looks great, but the quality of the drawing, you see how that kind of goes up a level? This one's nice, and you can see where they really spent some time on some careful things here and there. Some of the parts are a little bit rushed, but I can see some really careful drawing in a lot of places. This one's very pretty. Look at how they drew all the different values and a little bit of shading between the cars. They were really looking at what they were doing. Some of it is smudged, but because there's nice hand drawing kind of over the smudging works. So don't end with smudging, and kind of clean it up and make it look good at the end. So the drawing quality has gotten really nice. And then this is actually not sure which direction it goes. I think it goes in this direction. Let me back up a little bit. And this one has a really nice quality. Lots of careful drawing where they're really, really looking at where they're drawing. Different uses of the pencil where we do have some little bit of smudging, like this is smudged in here, but mostly straight up drawing. Nice values, careful things. Here's some scumbling. So layering different textures together, approaching different things. Like this cloud, this smoke plume is kind of like approached with a different style than these other parts where they're letting more of their lines show. So as you look at each different part of it, also, by the way, with fur, draw the shadows. You could even be more of a scumble than this one. Draw the shadows of the fur. Try not to draw the fur. And while we're working on the drawing, ask me lots of questions. See this pretty little area here you may not even notice. So I want you to think about the quality of your drawing don't just hand in, you know, something like this first one. It has a nice enough design, but the quality of this one is so much better. So we're looking more for this with the range of values and drawing techniques than something that's kind of thrown together a little faster. A lot more time, a lot less time. I want to see, you know, really try to do your best drawing and, you know, do the best of your drawing at your center of interest. So the dog's face should have been drawn better, and it is. They've added some things here they didn't add the other places. So that's some hints for the project, and hopefully we'll just keep talking about it while you're working on it. Ask me lots of questions, show it to me live or show it to me in a photograph while you're working on it, and it's going to be really fun to work on. Pay attention to the due dates because we'll be working on it while we're doing some other things.